From The Guardian today, Starmer disappointed as Sentencing Council rejects calls to review two-tier justice rules. The PM said ministers would consider their next steps over guidance for judges in England and Wales aimed at tackling bias. Bias, eh? Bias. That's what they call it. When you engage with reality itself and notice the fact that a massively disproportionate number of the people doing the killing in the United Kingdom these days look a bit different. Apparently, this is a controversial thing, like seeing a bubbling chip pan and a bucket of cold water sat next to it. If you see those two things, you have to hold up both hands and go, don't want to be biased, and just stick them in both at the same time. Because you don't want to have preconceived notions, do you? Everything's got to be equal. Ironically, the other breaking news today perfectly nestles in alongside this story, because I'll tell you one thing, it's a good job this fella was sentenced today and not next week. Breaking news, a recap on what's happened today. Nasen Sadi has been jailed for life with a minimum of 39 years for the murder of Amy Gray and the attempted murder of Leanne Miles. The pair was sitting on a beach when they were attacked. Sadi, a criminology student, that's all they'll tell you about him. Not where he's from, not what his ideology is, not where he was born, not where his parents were born. Simply that he was a social misfit with a grievance against women. I'm a social misfit, and I've got a mother-in-law, so I've got a grievance against women, and I've never stabbed anyone. What's that all about? Plus, I look like this, and he looks like that. So therefore, if we were sentencing next week, the judges have to go a little bit easy on him, wouldn't they? Because bless his cotton socks, he's got a bit of a tan. Needless to say, I've got plenty to say about this sordid state of affairs, so stay tuned. Right then, the world has gone completely mad. We've known this for many years. Certainly viewers of this channel have known for the last 5 or 6 years that the world has gone completely insane. When we get more outraged by TV chefs making sexual innuendo and quips than we do about the mass torture and surprise sexing of tens of thousands of little girls, right? Then you know you're circling the drain. Your society is done. We are morally bankrupt and morally bereft. And the icing on this cake to smug people like me is that we've spent the last 4 or 5 years talking about two-tier justice on account of the fact that if people look like Idris Elba, they get a quarter of the sentence of people who look like the angry Bootneck. And the government denied it, and they said, oh, that's ludicrous. Gaslighting anybody with eyeballs and the ability to read a newspaper because of the hundreds and hundreds of people that have been incarcerated for quips on social media, while full-blown diddlers have been let off with suspended sentences and fines for actually jumping the bones of unwilling strangers in the middle of the street. That's where we're at. And they've always denied it and they said, that's not a thing. Gaslighting the entire nation. But now, as if by magic, it's actually getting written into the law. And they're still going to tell you with a straight face, it's not a thing. Yeah, okay, definitely not a thing, even though it's being written into the law. If it becomes part of the statute, and you're going to tell me that it isn't a thing, then Jeffrey Dahmer should have simply said, it isn't a thing, when they found heads in his fridge freezer. And the coppers would have had to dust their hands and go, oh, it's not a thing then. Fair enough, cheers. Look, the world's gone mad. It's a thing, and we're going to talk about it now. The Sentencing Council's refusal to agree to the government's request to change its guidelines that have been deemed a two-tier system. Yeah, deemed just by lunatics, you know. Keir Starmer said he's disappointed about it. Downing Street rejected claims that the Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood had been humiliated by the Sentencing Council for England and Wales after their refusal to back down. She told the council this month, there will never be a two-tier sentencing approach under my watch. Never. Never. She lasted a week. That's like David Lammy saying he never sees a policeman and there's 2 with luminescent vests stood behind him. Yeah, cheers then, Shabana. And Jimi Hendrix never played the guitar. Mahmood criticised rules drawn up by the independent body that devises judges' sentencing guidelines after claims they discriminated against white men. Claims? What do you mean, claims? That's what the law says. It's in black and white. The Sentencing Council said it concluded the guideline didn't require revision and the widespread misunderstanding is the only cause of the backlash. Starmer said all options are on the table and we're disappointed. So we don't need to continue with this charade, this farce. Starmer and Mahmood, do you think those people have the interests of straight white men at heart? Do you? A charmless androgynous android? And Osama bin Laden's third wife? do you honestly think these people don't 100% agree with the machinations of the Sentencing Council? The Sentencing Council can be easily ignored by the Prime Minister and the MPs. Who has the power in the United Kingdom? The Prime Minister and the Home Secretary and the heads of state? Or the Sentencing Council? That's like telling me I can't take my motorbike out on the weekend because the Council for Wales and Hippies doesn't like the idea. They haven't got the power. The power rests with our elected officials, not the quangos. You can dismantle them if you wish, and you can ignore them if you please. Starmer and Mahmood are playing this game because they want to try and have some vestige of credibility with the public so they can still win elections and pretend that they were against the whole thing. Oh no, we wish we could stop the two-tier justice, but we just can't. And in the shadows, it's all part of the plan. All part of the plan, just like Tony Blair. People who know. David Starkey told you what was going to happen when Keir Starmer took over. I told you. Peter Hitchens told you. We all knew what was going to happen when Keir Starmer took over because Keir Starmer's a radical. And now, on his watch, they are writing two-tier justice into the statute. And do you honestly think that him going on the TV and going, oh, I wish this wasn't happening? You think that's true? You think he's sincere? The man is a rat in a suit. He is a walking Portaloo. If he inadvertently stood in a puddle of petrol and burst into flames live on the 9 o'clock news, when he said, ow, I'm a little bit hot, I wouldn't believe him. I'd go and get a scarf and a woolly hat because everything he says, regardless of anything else you think, is definitely a lie. The man is a weasel. But rant over. It takes me nicely onto this next story, doesn't it? This. Because remember, you've always got to give them the benefit of the doubt. If they're not ginger. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, gaze into the eyes of a victim. Bless his cotton socks. If only he'd been sentenced a week later, the judge could take into account what he looks like and let him off with a slapped wrist. Also of note, I can't even tell you where he was born, because when you type it in on Google, no matter how you look, you can't find this out. They've all closed ranks. But I feel like the name itself can give us some straws in the wind, because, you know, if he was called Hamish McTattyscon, we could probably guess he was Scottish. Or if he was called Gareth Davies or Yaya Evans, we could probably guess that he's from Wales. Me, I'm a tailor, so I'm from England. And I reckon Nasen Sadi probably isn't the son of a sociology professor from Aberdeen. Anyway, let's read what the Telegraph has to say about it. Student who murdered woman. That's it. That's all you get. Student, not young man, not foreign man, not angry, religiously motivated man. Just a student. And he randomly killed someone. Because it's random. Totally random attack. Purposely going out of your way to stab a woman to death. That's random, that. All of it is just an unhappy accident. You can't blame the Home Office, you can't blame Philip Rutnam, and you can't blame Keir Starmer. Definitely none of their faults. It's just a roll of the dice. And Keir's banned samurai swords this week, so that'll help. But you know what? Looking at this story, he's going to have to ban a lot more things, isn't he? Because there's loads of stuff that needs banning if we're going to stop imported foreign men from butchering innocent women on the beach. Like, for example, films. Murderer had an interest in true crime and horror films. Ban 'em. We can't have true crime and horror films. That's definitely what's causing all these problems. Ban 'em both. We definitely didn't have true crime and horror films in the 1960s and the 1970s when hardly anybody got killed by a knife-wielding lunatic on the beach, and now it happens every week. In fact, every day at this point. Isn't there a mass stabbing every day now in the UK? So it must be the true crime and horror films. Oh, and he also had a knife obsession, so we need to ban all of them. Yep, Cut your bread with a house brick. Shut up and get it done. Eat your dinner with a fork and a spoon. For the good of the nation, live off beans and paste. Okay? That's what we've got to do. And that'll definitely stop angry, swarthy men from killing innocent women. Easy. And let's finish up with this pointless, facile BBC tripe. Amy Gray's wife tells the BBC, "I don't want hate to consume me." Well, I'd like to offer you my services, Cyan. Let me tell you, you don't want hate to consume you. I've got enough hate for us both, love. Allow me to interject, madam. Give me a triple dose of hatred, all right, for killers. I hate them. Is that a hate crime? Is it a hate crime to hate murderers? Probably in this day and age. And next week, when they introduce the sentencing guidelines, it probably will be a hate crime to hate murderers, because if the murderers look a bit like Bill Cosby, well, the judges have to think about that, don't they? You can hate Fred West, but you can't hate Idi Amin, right? I don't make the rules, ladies and gentlemen. Don't look at me. Anyway, I've had enough of this. It makes me angry. To sum up, 2 innocent women who happened to be lesbians were stabbed up by a foreign man. And the Me Too movement seems strangely quiet on all this, doesn't it? Because the biggest victims of the mass importation of thousands and thousands of unvetted men appears to be women, and sometimes LGBT women. But they don't really care about that. You know what they care about? Andrew Tate being rude on the internet. Yeah, that's the biggest issue. Definitely is. A mere knife in the face is as nothing compared to harsh language. That's the world we're living in. We knew it was coming. Two-tier justice is not merely an observation as a result of thousands of cases where people who look like ye and me get locked up for years for trifling incidents, while people who hail from the third world get treated with kid gloves for committing the worst atrocities known to man. It's not merely a result of that anymore. It's now officially part of the statute. And if we'd only waited a week, Mr. Nassan Sadi would have been given a £200 fine and retrained as a female football coach. That's the world we're living in. It's mental, but at least it's funny. All right, thanks for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please join in the gaslighting and tell me that I shouldn't believe my own eyes and ears, and I should instead listen to a demonstrable liar like Keir. And I look forward to reading the gibberish in the comments. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll be streaming tomorrow at 7 p.m. UK. Be there or be square. See you soon. Toodle pip. Cheers.